Right, we're going to start the assembling of the layout. I'll start by putting the background together and then we'll start to add the embellishments. So you have the background that you created, and you can see that as it's drying, the colors are starting to look more or less the same. So you need your background or your foundation page. Then you need the pattern paper 1. You're going to cut one piece to measure 8.5 centimeters by 28, and it's going to go on the left, and another piece to measure 22 centimeters across and 28 centimeters down. Then your pattern paper number 2 that you created, you're going to cut one piece at 5 centimeters by 28, that's going to go there, and another piece at 2.5 by 28, and that'll go on the side. And then your pattern paper number 3 that you created, you'll cut them down to strips of 5 centimeters by 30.5, because they're going to run across something like that. Out of your dark plain cardstock, in my case it's the brown, you need to cut 4 strips that measure 0.5 centimeter by 30.5, and they are going to go either side of your this dark strip running across. They're going to go there more or less. And then you're going to need some washi tape. What I did is I took some plain white paper and just inked it with a little bit of aged mahogany, and then attached my paper across. I cut 1.5 centimeter strips and then just attached the washi tape over. I put it onto some white cardstock that I've inked because the washi tape is very translucent, and when I put it down on my layout it seemed to fade into the background. So you'll need 4 strips at 1.5 centimeters by 30.5. 2 of the strips are going to go at the top, and the other 2 strips I just used a border punch. I used the scallop border punch, and I just punched out the border to run at the bottom like that. Okay, so that is basically the background so far. I'm going to quickly add some glue and get everything attached in place. Right, let's get the background stuck. I'm going to start on the left side of my page and then I'll work on the right. So you'll need your ruler, and I'm going to attach my first page 1.5 centimeters from the top. So this piece that measures 8 by 22, I'm going to pop it down over there. So I'm just going to make a pencil mark at the 1.5 centimeters from the top. I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to use the Mono Liquid Aqua. You can use your Dala or the green Tombow if you prefer. Right, and your first one's going to go down. So this goes flush against the center and 1.5 centimeters from the top of the page. It's easier for me to see it like this. I'll double check that I've got it on nice. There we go. Okay, and then I use the back of my glue to help get everything stuck in place. Right, so that is the left side, and then next to that goes the piece that measures 2 by 28. That just goes flush against pattern paper number 1. That one on. So I'm just going to line it up nicely at the bottom and at the top, and push it as close to pattern paper number 1 as I can. There we go. I did ink around the edges of my pattern paper with some ground espresso distress oxide. It's an optional extra, you don't have to do that. Okay, so now I need to add this. We're going to do the right hand side, so this piece needs to go on. I am going to again measure 1.5 centimeters from the top to make a guide, and add my glue. I'm going to attach this one 1.5 centimeters from the top and flush against the center. But before I secure it into place 100%, I'm just going to make sure that it lines up with the left hand side. So I like to get the bottom piece, top piece in line, and then check that it, when it lays next to each other, it is definitely going to be in place. That looks about right. Work from the middle out, get any air out, and get the paper to taper nicely to the background. Double check. Oopsie. Picked up my banners. There we go. That looks good. And then I made a boob. The 5 centimeter one is supposed to go this side. Okay, well, I think you can lift it. Okay, so I stuck them the shorter side, this side, which should have been the 5 centimeter piece this side, and the 2.5 centimeter piece this side, but obviously it's done, it's stuck, there's nothing I can do about it, so we just change the plans as we go. Line it up nicely to the bottom and get that on. Try to lift it, it won't lift, I'm not going to fiddle. That's just the way it's going to have to be. Right. And then we've got these strips that need to go 4.5 centimeters from the bottom of the page. So I measure 4.5 from the bottom. Add some glue. And I like to double check that I have everything nice and straight. There we go. Hold it in place and just use something to burnish the paper into place. There we go. And we'll do the same on the other side. You're going to measure 4.5 centimeters from the bottom. some glue to this strip. Make sure it's lined up to the center and that 4.5 centimeter strip. And before I burnish, I'm just going to double check that it fits, that it is nicely in line. It is. It's always important to check that it lines up with the right hand side of your page. Okay. There we go. Right, then we're going to add the little the banners. So the one washi tape strip attaches to the top of this this strip. Sits flush against the top of the strip, like that. And we can add the other one. Remember, I've put the green tombow on, so it's made it tacky, which gives me time to change my mind, which would have been useful with this little muddle up. There we go. And then we're going to add a scalloped border at the bottom, flush against the bottom of this strip from the center, and work your way out. I've cut it slightly shorter, and we'll do the same on this side. Goes flush against the bottom of the strip. Pattern paper 3, work from the middle, work your banner out that way. There we go. Okay, you can see that there's a slight overhang. I'm just going to use some scissors just to trim off that excess. And we'll do the same on this side. Just trim off that excess. Right. So that gives me my left and my right. All done. We're going to add our photos. I've already cut and matte my photographs. I'm just going to give you a basic idea of where everything goes. Okay, so what you'll need is one photo at 10 by 15 portrait, one photo at 15 by 10 landscape, one photo at 8 by 10, making sure, yeah. So one photo at 8 by 10, 10 by 8 landscape, and 2 at 8 by 10 portrait. You will cut out 3 pieces of your light cardstock. I chose to use my white, some mixed media, and I've inked heavily around the edges with aged mahogany distress oxide. And on the brown, if I put them together like this, I inked around the brown as well with aged mahogany distress oxide, and you can see that it's turned the brown into like a grayish color, so not quite brown. So you need 3 of the white at 8.5 by 10.5, and 2 white at 10.5 by 15.5, and then out of the dark you need 3 at 9 by 11 and 2 at 11 by 16. right? You will then match your photos. You'll match your mats onto each other, the light onto the dark, and then your photo onto your mat. Okay, I just used double-sided tape for this. You can either go in each corner, put a little bit in each corner and one in the middle, or you can put it on like I am, whichever is easier for you. You just need to make sure that you have enough tape on your mat that it's not going to come loose. And then I suggest that once you've got your tape on, that you just burnish it on so that if there are any little gaps, where little air bubbles have got in, that you've got them out. And then this also makes sure that your tape is firmly burnished to your photograph. And then we'll just peel off the tape. And attach your photo to your mat. Right? I like to print my photographs on the mixed media paper. I like the matte finish that it gives, and that takes away that shine. And the paper is acid free, so the photographs should, in theory, look good for a while. Right, so before we put the photo mats onto the page, we need to add the borders. These have had a chance to dry. So these border strips that we cut out, I've also gone around the edges with Distress Oxide Victorian Velvet. It is an optional extra, you do not have to do it. I just like the effect that it has on the dark. It gives it that chalky effect, right? And we're just going to use these strips to hide the join from where the pattern paper joins with these pink borders. So just some adhesive at the back, and then this just goes over the join like that. Gives it a bit of a more continuous, it pulls the whole lot together. We'll do the same this side. And again, you want to get your page nicely lined up so that this one and this one lines up nicely. There we go. And again at the top. There we go. And it looks like there is again a slight overhang. Just trim it off. This one not so much. Right. Now the photographs. I want this photo to sit just over there. Let's see. This one over here. And this one's going to drop down. What I would like for this one and this one to be in line at the top. And this one to be in line at the bottom here. And that over there. I think I like that. Yeah, so that's where those are going to go. We're going to start by putting this one down first, and then everything will line up from here. Okay. I'm wondering if it'll look better at the top there. Slightly over. Oh, I think that's nice. I think we'll do it like that. So not quite all the way down and not quite all the way to the top. Right. I will give you a measurement now. So first to go down, is the portrait. And I think it'll look nice more or less over there. So that gives you what from the bottom. If you need a measurement, it's 10.5 centimeters from the bottom of the page. That gives us a good landing spot for this one. Right. And then the one next to it. You want to make sure you have enough glue on, because we are attaching the photographs to a mixed media background. So inks and water and everything, you need to take that into consideration. You can use the green glue if you prefer, but I work quite well with this one. You need to work with what's comfortable with for you. Right, so that's looking good. Then this one's going to go on. And I'm going to line it up at the top. So that the top photo and this one is in line. And then that sets the spacing and the positioning for the rest of the photographs on my page. Right, this is the landscape one. It needs to run in line with this portrait one. And then the last photograph goes on. So it's about a mil from the middle of the page. There we go. Right, I'm going to add the title. I've named the page Mischief Makers because that is exactly what these two are. This is one of my very good friends and my daughter. It was her kitchen tea, and they were at the photo booth, and you can just tell they were up to no good. So, mischief makers. I will find the other eye, the dot of the eye. It is around here somewhere. If I don't, then we'll just make another plan. Right, so the title is going to go over there. To do the title, I cut the title out on my silhouette, and then I leave it inside I don't weed it out straight away. I kind of leave it inside the paper and then ink it. In this case, I ink dark on the top and light at the bottom, and then once it's inked, I'll take it out. I find it easier to ink my title and whatever wording still inside the piece of paper that you cut it on, than to try and hold one in place and ink around it. It's less likely to tear, and it gives a nice finish. So that's going to go there. Then we are going to add our flowers, the flowers that we painted, colored in. Right, so one of the things I like to do with the flowers when they are flat is just to round them slightly. I have this nice little tool that helps me just to bend the petals slightly so that they're not 100% flat and they look like they have a little bit of form and life. So you can just go through. If you don't have this, you can easily just use your fingers just to turn it up. I just find that the tool helps me a little bit. So I'd like to have 3 little flowers here and 1 over here, and then we've got these ones that need to go in. We have the leaves. Okay, so let's get laying out where we think it's going to be. We're going to have one in the middle, then we want a light one and another light one, and then a darker one. So we might need to move everything up a little bit and bring that one in like that. Pop one of these in over here. Oh, we won't need, it doesn't look like we're going to need that dot after all. Same with the leaves, I just bend them in a little bit and then flatten them out so that they have a bit of a curl to them and they're not 100% flat. I think it's going to look better if it's popped out over here. So you just want to build up a little bouquet of flowers and decide if you want them to go under or over. I think that's going to work over there. Then we're going to repeat that pattern this side. One flower here, one over there. Looks like this one needs to turn this way. There we go. And pop another leaf over here maybe. There we go. Right, then we can add these ones in. We can add another little dark one here. Maybe swap that around. The dark one here and the light one over there. Maybe pop the dark one in over there rather. Looks better. And I have these tiny little ones. Let's pop them out over here. And we can just add these ones in all randomly, just to add a little something. Okay, with these ones that are still flat, haven't buckled them yet. So with these particular ones, we're going to turn them upside down. We're going to use an embossing tool or stylus and just push down on each petal. So that the petal curls around the stylus, and then just give it a little wiggle in the middle. Turn them over and press down. Okay. So we'll just add some flowers all randomly like that. Okay, so that is starting to take shape. Then we need to add the little photo tab. I've made these tabs that I think will look good. About over there. And another one to go at the top here. And then these, I have some extra butterflies that we can also add to the layout. Just to add a little something extra to the page. I think that's one there. Maybe we bring another one down the bottom here. I don't think we need a fifth one. Right. These are what they look like. All I did with these was, I've already pre-inked one. I've just inked it with some aged mahogany oxide and then gone over with the spun sugar. And I'm quickly going to show you, this is an optional extra, you do not have to do this. We are going to add, just want to see the difference between this and this. When we add a little bit of embossing glaze. The embossing glaze is a translucent embossing powder. Let me get my biddies right out the way. Quickly show you. Right, so I'm going to take a dab it, it's clear embossing ink, and I'm just going to add it, and you'll do the same with the butterflies. Just add it here and there where you want the embossing glaze to stick. So I'm basically going around the edges and I'm not putting any ink in the middle of the tab. Okay, we're going to pop that on there, and then you're going to sprinkle on your glaze. You need good coverage. You want to make sure you get enough glaze on here, and then lightly tap off any excess. Let's have a look at that. There we go. I'm quite happy with that. Oops. We need to put the excess back inside. Right. And then we're going to heat this to melt it. It would work better if you have a proper embossing gun with a narrow tip. Mine has the dust, so we're going to use this one. It's going to take a little bit longer, but we'll get a similar effect. So I heat up the heat gun and then working in little circles or up and down. You want to keep distributing the heat equally and evenly over the tool. Okay, I'm going to lift it and carry on heating it up in the air. Try to hold it so that you can see. And you're going to keep going until that embossing glaze melts and moves. You'll actually see it move. And once it moves and becomes like liquidy, you can maneuver it to where you want it to be. There you go. And that's how you get it to have that finished off. A little bit of distressed look to it. I did go around the edges with a little bit of white paint just to make it stand out a little bit more. I don't have my paint on hand, but basically I just took a brush, picked up some white paint, and then just dabbed paint on. If you have a paint that comes like this with a dabber top, it's even easier to add a little bit of paint around the edges just to make it stand out a bit. Okay. I did the exact same process with the butterflies. That's going to go there. Right, so I am going to put glue behind all my little embellishments and then start to assemble. I'm going to put on some music and see you when I'm done. Waiting for the glue to dry on the embellishments, I'm quickly going to draw some gel lines around my page. This is completely optional. If you don't like the effect, you do not have to do it, but I like to add lines around the edges of my pages, of my pattern papers, just to draw attention to what I've done. Now that my lines have been drawn around, I'm going to quickly attach my title. I'll start from the inside and work my way to the outside. Added the title. When I'm completely done with the page, I will go over the title with some glossy accents to make that pop out a little bit. I'm going to add some embellishments and then add in some flat back pulls afterwards. So I'm going to play some music and speed up the video as I add and place the embellishments. I'll see you in a moment. And that is the finished project. What I am going to do because I've made the mistake of swapping these two around, when I know that everything's 100% dry and nothing's going to shift, I am going to take my stencil and add a little bit of this stenciling over here, and it'll make that it'll look like the page is meant to flow. Another option would be to add another file tab just to try and get this to pull over. So I'm still going to give that a little bit of thought, and when I've come up with a plan, I'll post a picture of the final thing with an explanation of how I fix this. So, because I did consider extending it, but I don't really like that. So the best option would be either to put in some journaling here, or to bring in the file tab like that. So just need to think about it a little bit more and fix my little blooper. Right, ladies, I hope you enjoyed the project, and I look forward to seeing what you post in my album. Remember, you need to look for the album for class number 26 and post your finished projects there. Thank you for participating. Have a good rest, and we'll see you soon.